we plan and we immediately move into action. But can we imagine and start to consider, actually, I want to create room between planning and implementation. I can allow for the dreams and ideas to exist and to be documented, to have a time and a place, even if it's a not yet. And that sounds simple and obvious, but actually we don't operate that way most of the time. Most of the visionaries that I'm working with are feeling that tension of like, I've got so many ideas and this bigger vision, and I'm so far from being able to actually execute it.
Overwhelm, reaction mode, and just keeping up are the old way.
You need real, root-level strategies and practical steps to grow your business or ministry without exhaustion and burnout.
Hi there, we're Anna Saucier
And Megan Gephardt,
best friends and business consultants who help faith-filled women create sustainable growth through simple strategy with a people-first approach.
Here at Apostolic Fruit, we hope to offer you clarity, support, accompaniment, and healing,
one tiny step at a time.
Hello, my friend. This is Megan Gephardt, and welcome back to the Apostolic Fruit podcast. So today we're going to talk about when strategy finally sees you, and not just sees your business or the work that you do or all the amazing external mission and what's on the surface, but also deeply sees you as a whole person and sees your heart. So maybe you have also had this experience. If you ever walked out of a strategy session with nothing more than maybe a glorified to-do list that didn't actually change anything. If you've experienced that, you're not alone. I want to share with you some insights that emerged from a recent strategic mapping client experience, because I think it's so important that anytime we do strategy work or we do strategic planning, that we also are considering the whole person. We are considering, okay, what's going on behind the scenes? We're looking at you uniquely. And we do this very, very differently. You may have already gathered that if you've been listening for a while. But I really want to paint this picture of what this experience can be, because so many people have had really challenging experiences or not the best experiences with planning before or strategy work. And it may have even been burned by that before or disappointed, or it didn't work for you. And so you may notice that you have either hesitations or resistance around it. So I had a client who recently came to me for strategic mapping, and her initial hesitation that she communicated, and she shared more of this actually after the fact, but she was just reflecting on the experience. But for her, pricing wasn't the fear. It was, I know I need to make an investment. I know I need to pay for some support here, but I'm worried about whether I'm going to get the return and whether it's going to be valuable, because she had tried other coaching before. She had tried other strategy work before that didn't actually solve her problems. And the way that she put it, in her exact words, was, the best part of this process is having someone truly listen to the unique challenges of both my business and my heart. I've tried other programs in the past that felt formulaic to the point that I didn't even really feel like the coaches took the time to understand the entirety of my business or my specific struggles. Because sometimes you do just need coaching on building skills, in which case another program might be great, she said. But other times you need someone to help you see not just where you're stuck, but why, and then to help you build a vision for addressing those deeper needs. So can we just pause for a moment? Because I am soaking that in, because I just want to say, yes, this is the heart of why we do what we do and why we approach it in the way that we do. Because maybe you too have left a strategy session with nothing more than a massive to-do list that just makes you feel even more overwhelmed, or just knowing that you're left to execute it all alone. And so you know how frustrating that is, and you don't want that again, right? So if you have been burned in that way by strategy before, or if you do feel some resistance to strategic planning because of those past experiences, I just want to acknowledge that that is real and that is valid. And I want to speak into what we don't do, hopefully to give you some reassurance, because this is a lot of what's already out there. We don't shove you into a cookie cutter formula that is not meant for you. We don't hand you a fill in the blank template that you'll never look at again. We may give you some tools, but really only the ones that we think are going to serve you most in this particular season or stage of your business or where you are in scaling. Not going to tell you just need to throw more at it, more marketing, more bodies, more time, energy, or just hustle harder fixes. Not about that. And not here to snuff out your unique fire with one more quote unquote proven system. Oh, it just makes it sort of go, don't want that. We're not here for that. So here is what strategic mapping actually is. It is a sacred space to zoom out, to name what's really happening in your work, in your business, or in your organization, in your team, in your heart. It's a place where you get to verbally process, like some people even call it word vomit, right? All of your big ideas, your questions, your frustrations, your dreams, and the beautiful, maybe sometimes tangled mess of what you've built through all of the sacrifice of it, right? And have someone help to untangle the knots and help you create order from what might sometimes feel like chaos. It is a process that brings clarity to wherever your business and organization is heading and to co-create a roadmap to get there, but without just duct taping or surface level problem solving or just more disjointed to-dos. It's really a space where you get to be held. So you can finally take a deep breath, a step back. You can see the whole picture. Because the strategy is not just about what to do, right? But it really is also about why you're doing it. And anytime we're doing visioning work, we're doing strategy work, it's also about creating that plan that honors, yes, your mission, your calling from the Lord, but also honors your season of life, your very real capacity, and your humanity and your human limitations at the same time. Or we have to be honest about that. Otherwise, whatever plan or strategy is just not going to work when the rubber meets the road. It will just get thrown out the window, right? And you probably have experienced that. Strategy is only worth something if it is sustainable. So if you have had a less than stellar experience with strategy before, just consider this your permission slip that it does not have to be that way moving forward. Okay, so I want to share with you some of the key wins and mindset shifts that my client experienced because I think these are huge and they're helpful takeaways for everyone. You, I imagine, will see yourself in these things and these will be useful awareness points for you as I share some of these different leadership and CEO growth areas that emerged for her. So here's what actually shifted for her. Her sense of her worth and how that then relates to pricing was a big theme. So this process helped her to just take a step back and develop more of the confidence and to be more comfortable in valuing her own time and therefore reevaluating where she might need to raise prices and also really evaluating where is she already undervaluing her work and her time and therefore also keeping herself as a bottleneck in many ways in the business that they're not places that she uniquely can do. And so those places that she can only uniquely do are not getting her time and energy because they're only getting leftovers, right? So pricing and worth and her confidence in that was a huge theme. Another one that really emerged strongly for her was releasing shoulds. So not forcing herself into models or funnels or other people's boxes that just don't fit. And so she expressed, I'm starting to feel like I can let go of being beholden to these traditional pricing models or a structure that doesn't really fit my business, if I'm honest. And it was just things that other people told her she had to do, like a funnel of low ticket to then higher priced offers and a tiered system of that. But she's like, this is not actually reflective of my customers' real purchasing patterns. And so it doesn't even make sense for me to be trying to conform and contort myself into this box. So that was a big theme, and that's something that emerges in a lot of our strategic mapping clients. Another one, and this ties back to what I was talking about with the pricing and valuing her time and what she's worth, but delegation clarity was huge for her. This concept of there's like $10, $100, $1,000 tasks, and she ought to be focused on the highest value work, the revenue driving work, or the things that she can uniquely contribute in the business as the owner, as a visionary, as the primary creator, right? And starting to shift more of the other things off her plate to free up her capacity for those higher impact areas that really require her skill sets. Another primary shift for her was awareness and clarity on rhythms and boundaries. So this is establishing clear rhythms and boundaries for her CEO time, for her daily, weekly work, and protecting dedicated deep work space and time to continue to move the needle forward on things, especially projects, rather than just reacting to tasks as they come up. Giving herself space to actually lead and be proactive and give good guidance and be looking months in advance rather than just kind of head down in the weeds and just being really bogged down in the day-to-day, but not really even having a clear sense of where she's going in the direction of the whole business, let alone to give guidance to the team so that they know where they can take initiative too. This is a huge place of creating space between planning and execution. We talk about this all the time with our clients because so often we're in this place where we plan and we immediately move into action. But can we imagine and start to consider, actually, I want to create room between planning and implementation. I can allow for the dreams and ideas to exist and to be documented, to have a time and a place, even if it's a not yet. And that sounds simple and obvious, but actually we don't operate that way most of the time. Most of the visionaries that I'm working with are feeling that tension of like, I've got so many ideas and this bigger vision, and I'm so far from being able to actually execute it. But what if it can be okay that we have some space between aspects of that vision and what we're working on right now? But the distinction is that we want what we're working on now to be supportive of where we're going, right? So it all should be congruent. And when we can start to spread that space and create more room, it just gives us room to breathe. It helps us to not have things really falling through the cracks, to better be actually honoring our capacity, to be making more sound decisions. And it just brings peace. We don't have to and we shouldn't be immediately executing everything. This proactivity can just be a game changer for you in moving from ideas and vision that you never find time for, moving them into fruition over time and really pacing yourself and the team in a healthy way just to honor that you're people, you're not machines. So a huge part of this is the Trello board that we create in strategic mapping is what facilitates this. You just share all the things with me across the board. We open everything up. It's like pulling out the kitchen, all the cabinets and all the mismatched Tupperware and all the plates and everything. And we're sorting them out. We're seeing what is staying, what's going, and we reorganize. And then everything I pull out of you then also gets to be translated into a time and space. And you have a sequence now for your action steps. You have projects organized by quarter in priority order. And so you know exactly when to start, when you hope to finish things, what you're going to be focusing on when. And then now you get to see that big picture in a very visual way. And you also now don't have to carry around the decision fatigue of having to constantly just navigate the swirl of all these million things and trying to balance timelines and not anticipating when you're going to be really overloaded because you're doing too many projects at once and you didn't really have the foresight because you don't have a way to visually see that. There's so many aspects that this just relieves right off the bat. We just wanted to speak into that a little bit more as we're talking about creating space between planning and execution. There can be plans for projects 3 quarters down the road. There can be future projects that are maybe several years down the road that come out when we're doing the visioning. And now you have a place, like a little idea garden, where they belong. And you can start to pull them in when it's time to start moving them into action in some way. So those are huge, huge themes for her. Another one that was really interesting And an insight that I feel like we need reminding of all the time is just to trust that God has designed us all uniquely. And what does this mean? You're probably carrying a lot on your own. You are probably feeling the weight of the load that is disproportionately on your shoulders. And you probably have a number of things on your plate that feel really draining to you, that just make you want to hit your head against the wall or just like suck the life out of you, just knock the wind out of your sails. You feel that energy drain and you feel deflated after you work on them. You just know it's not the most life-giving thing, and it's also not the most aligned with your gifts. It's really easy to make an assumption that I don't want to hand these things off to someone else because they're just going to hate it just as much as I am. But a big realization for her, kind of this aha moment, was remembering that, you know what, just because I don't like this, it doesn't mean that someone else won't love it. Something I don't like actually might be someone else's genius and their passion area. And what a gift that we then get to come together in our complementary gifts where the things that drain you actually light other people up. And this is a huge part of Anna and I's partnership. We see these things all the time, certain things that drain her, like I get so excited about, and it brings me so much joy to support her in them. And then she gets to be supported in it. And like, what if that could be the way that it works? Because that is how God made us. He made us to collaborate and co-create and just not do everything on our own. That is just a lie I feel like the enemy wants to keep us stuck in and keep us isolated and keep us in that place where we feel like it is all on us. It's not meant to be, my friend. So the way that she put this, we talked a lot about these themes of valuing her time and certain shifts and perspective and awareness and insights to practically live that out. But what she said was, learning to value my time more has given more weight to the importance of also implementing tools that take less time to work with. I didn't realize how much I had been resigning myself to busy work in order to save what amounts to just maybe even a little bit of money. And I hadn't realized how much mental energy was being spent in those busy tasks. Because what we did together was I started to ask, I was continuing to peel back the layers here, asking, and what are all of these random admin tasks that you're doing on a day-to-day or a weekly basis? And they may not feel like they take a lot of time because 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 15 minutes here, 30 minutes there. But when you really start to look at them and the compounding impact of them, you start to realize that, you know what, a lot of my energy is being spent on these. And so when we start to create some space between what she's been doing as a default and actually start to ask some questions about it and look at it with a little bit more of a critical eye from a place of a lot of curiosity and compassion, not a place of judgment. But then we can actually see it objectively and we can evaluate and we can ask the questions of, you know what, does it make sense to keep doing it this way, or does it make sense to consider there could be another way here? And what might doing it differently open up for you? That was a huge part of what we were doing together. And it was just so fruitful. And so yesterday, she messaged me with this real-time win. And I want to share this because, again, it's one of those very practical, in-the-moment victories. This is what she said. I was talking with my team member. We're scoping out a new job description for her and getting her ready to go with some social media things. This is something that we had talked about and strategized together inside our strategic mapping. And this team member asked her, when do we want to start on this part of my work? And she says, and I caught myself starting to think about it. Then I said, hang on, let me go check my Trello board because I know Megan and I talked about this. So I pulled it up and I said, this is what we're going to focus on for Q4. As we're getting into October here, this is what we're going to focus on. And then we're going to wait to add this part until Q1 in January. So it gives us some time. And as she's sharing this with me, she goes, what I didn't realize in that moment was how much mental energy I was wasting making the same dang decisions over and over again because I didn't have a place to actually map them out, to give them space and to record them. I've noticed this tendency where somebody will ask me about a timeline and I won't remember what I decided before, and I've just kept it all in my brain. And then I end up having to recreate basically this calendar in my head because I don't remember what it was before. But I've already thought about that, right? I've already dedicated time and space and energy to that problem. So she said, so I just wanted to tell you that the Trello board and really sitting down with you and mapping everything out has already saved me so much time and energy, and it's just already made it so much easier to communicate with my team. And I received this yesterday, is just getting ready for the day, and you should have seen the goofy smile on my face. One, I was so proud of her for going back to the board, for checking in with it, for using the tools, and of course then experiencing the relief that it brought. But it also just made me just giddy with excitement for her and smiling so big and celebrating this win with her, because it lights me up and makes me so proud and so grateful for what is often just simple structural shifts, but how much relief that can bring in grounding you and saving you from the mental overload, from reducing the constant decision fatigue. You're making 1,000 decisions a day, giving clarity for you, for your team. It holds all these things so you don't need to keep it all in your head anymore. And I shared that with her and I reflected back to her, yes, this is exactly the point, because when we create the right structure, it holds you and your team. So you don't have to hold it all yourself. So let's just take that in for a moment. And why does this matter for you, my friend? As you listen to the story and just her experience in it, I want to ask you, do you see yourself in this too? She is a brilliant, incredibly gifted woman with a huge heart, this huge vision and calling. Her work has touched a lot of lives. She is really changing the world, changing culture through her work. It's deeply transforming women's lives, families' lives, the church, and it's incredible what she's doing. But she was carrying so much alone. And maybe that sounds familiar to you too. Maybe, like her, you have been burned by past coaching or strategy experiences, and you're very validly wary of getting support and wondering, is that actually going to solve or change anything? But you're also hungry for clarity, for relief, for a sounding board that's actually going to sit and listen and deeply care about you, to help you to externally process, to help you to see all the untapped potential, and then bring some accountability, some gentle accountability in the shifts that God is calling you to make in your leadership and the way that you're stewarding this mission. And in all of that, I want you to know it is really, really important to know that you don't need more hustle. You don't just need to throw more at it, to just work harder, to grind more. You need a strategy and a structure that's going to actually help you to breathe, to help you to rest. And we can do that. We can do that together. This is why I love strategic mapping so much. And it's so life-giving to do and just sit down and hold this space for clients, because it's not about stuffing you into someone else's plan or just prescribing what you should do. It's about helping you clearly discern with the Lord, where does He want you to go? What is He calling you to? What does this next chapter look like? To be able to see more clearly why you're stuck, not just what are those stuck points, what are the gaps, but why you're stuck at a root level. And then, as she said, identify how to address those deeper needs so that you can move the business or the mission, the organization forward, and create a roadmap that actually fits you and that feels really freaking good. So, my friend, if this sounds aligned for you, if you're like, oh, this feels like it would be a huge relief to me, we have space to begin working with one organization that's at a pivotal growth point in a longer-term 6 to 9 month strategic partnership starting in mid-October. And this engagement would begin with strategic mapping. So if you want to learn more about that, if you're a leader of an organization or you are part of an organization or you know of an organization that needs what we can bring in this, you can go to apostolicfruit.com/growth to just as a free download, 0 opt-in required, just download the info deck to learn more and see what our approach looks like. But beyond that, if you're not at that level or you're not ready for that kind of partnership, we have one more strategic mapping spot left in December, and then we'll be booking into January and beyond. So I want to invite you to pause for a moment and just imagine, what would it look like and feel like to enter into the new year with an annual plan that gives everything a time and space, that takes everything out of your head and just creates order from the chaos, that grounds your leadership, that helps you to breathe again, and helps you to feel more aligned and expansive in your work. If that sounds like what you need, head over to apostolicfruit.com/strategic map to learn more, and then book a call with me. And we can talk it through. We can make sure that it's the right fit for you. And we can talk timing and any other logistics. And we can go from there. I'd love to serve you through this.
We hope you loved today's episode. If so, would you take a moment to share it with a friend?
If you haven't already, come connect with us human to human at apostolicfruit.com/connect. When you're ready, we'd love to support you more deeply.
May the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you,
and turn his face toward you and give you peace.